Welcome everyone to another edition of Play It Through, and on this edition it's Skater Die 2, The Search for Double Trouble for the NES, brought to us by Electronic Arts. Skater Die 2, of course the sequel, the Skater Die and Skater Die, is a lot different than the previous games. Those games focus mostly on a competition mode where you will compete in various events. However, Skater Die 2 actually has a full plot to it, and features action-adventure style levels. The game features multiple different levels, each with a different goal. Instead of just getting from left to right, you'll have to complete certain objectives in order to complete most of these levels. Skater Die 2, of course, also features a great opening theme song that we're going to listen to for a little bit before we even start the gameplay. So I had to have a little bit of that opening theme play before I press start and jump into the game. Now you can play the game in two different modes, the main story mode, and there's also a ramp mode, which I'll be checking out after completing the main game. When you start the game, you'll be introduced to the cast of characters and the opening story for the game before jumping into the first level.
Major bummer, dude.
When you start up level 1, Rodney will inform you a little bit more, and you'll notice at the bottom of the screen there are 4 different items: tacos, fries, tapes, and CDs. These are the currency in the game. We'll be finding a bunch of these random items scattered throughout the levels, and we use them to upgrade our skateboard. We're going to upgrade our skateboard twice before we complete the first level. Now, my playthrough is focused on getting through the game quickly and efficiently. I'm going to start off by heading all the way over to the right, collecting all the flashing objects amongst the different platforms and getting used to the controls. When you have a few of the items, you can run into Rodney, and if you have enough, you can buy the first upgraded skateboard. After doing so, Rodney will keep going by, and we'll get him as he turns back around. We only need a few items in order to afford the first 2 skateboards. One thing I noticed, it seems the prices or the items that you need for the skateboards can vary a little bit, though I'm not 100% positive on this. I mainly saw it happening in level number 3 in particular. Now that we have the best board we can get in the first level, we're going to head down into the sewers. We're going to grab this taco located here before heading back up and trying to do our best to avoid the rats. You'll notice in the top right, you have different moves you can equip for your different items, such as the 180 kick, or have our paintball gun, or the ability to even duck. And you can pause in order to change these up, though I won't be messing much with that. You have the ammo for the paintball gun. Next to that, and to the far left, you have your life meter and the current amount of time that's taking in order to complete the level. There are time limits in each of the levels that you can take, though I'm not positive on the exact amounts for each stage in particular. Level number 3 seems to have the shortest, and you'll see why when we get to it a little bit later on. Once we've gotten out of the sewer, our goal is to head over to the right, avoiding the other skateboarders and picking up all the items we find so that we have them in our inventory to buy the better board later on in the game. After we've gone all the way over to the right and collected quite a few amount of items, we're now going to head back. You can instantly go to the boss fight if you would like to. I usually prefer, though, to go all the way over to that right side to grab as many objects as I can along the way to fill up my inventory a bit. This way I don't have to really worry about some of the items later on. As we're heading back, we're going to go inside this door here. We're going to drop down to take out the old woman using the paintball gun. Position your skateboarder in just the right spot, just a little bit down from the very top, and you'll be able to launch into her with the paintball gun over and over again, and she won't even be able to hit you. Once she's taken care of, we get more story before the second level of the game. Level number 2 is vastly different from level number 1. Here, we are in a big mall and we have to deliver different orders in order to earn money. To do this, you just have to go to the store in particular that you need to drop off the package at. When you drop off one, you'll be told where to drop off the next one. You'll have a 2-minute time limit to deliver each of the orders. The orders you're going to be delivering are different each time, though I know there's one store that you never deliver anything to. The key to this whole level, though, is kind of using either a guide or making a map of the layouts of each of the stores on the mall map, and that way when you get the next order, you'll know instantly where you have to go. You can pause the game to check out your map and to write down notes if you need to, so even if it's your first time playing, you should be able to kind of figure out how the whole layout is and still have enough time to deliver each of the packages. You have to deliver a lot of these, and it takes a good amount of time going back and forth, over and over, and you'll get to know them all quite well. There's a few keys to this whole thing, and of course you want to avoid the other skateboarders that are unleashed in the mall, who will sometimes throw some stuff at you, and also the other shoppers in the mall that you'll have to skate between. Hugging the top of the area or hugging the very bottom is sometimes the best way to maneuver around the other guys. If you run into a wall or something, you may have to scoot out a little bit, but usually hugging like the most forward wall of the shops, you'll be able to bypass all the other shoppers walking around. Thankfully, running into them will only cost you a few seconds and 1 piece of your health. There really isn't too much more to this level other than learning the layout of the mall so that you know where each store is. It'll feel like it goes on for forever, but the stage will eventually end. I know it does. Doesn't feel like it, but trust me, the most annoying thing though is this isn't the worst level in the game. That is still yet to come. It's interesting to note that Electronic Arts, while they have been developing games for quite a while before Skater Die 2, this was actually one of the first games they actually published and developed themselves. Very few other home console games had come out from Electronic Arts prior. Most of the games they published were available for computer systems. After what seems like absolutely, positively forever, we will finally deliver the last package here to the taco pit, and we'll move on to stage number 3.
Most unfortunate.
Level number 3 will have us getting another upgrade for our skateboard, but our main goal is to collect the 15 pages that blew out the window during the last cutscene. You'll see these flashing on the ground, and there's a specific way to pretty much get most of them. If you wait too long with one flashing on screen, it will start to fly away. However, sometimes they're located in areas you won't be able to get to. We'll stop Rodney when we run into him for the first time and pick up our next skateboard. This will be the last one that I end up getting, though there is another one you can buy in the game. The locations of the pages seems to be pretty set for the amount of time I've taken thus far. Sometimes you'll take a dive into sand in order to land on top of one, and getting used to the controls is the key to being able to maneuver around properly around some of the harder ramps and other ledges when you're trying to collect these random pages. No matter how hard you try, you may just have to run into a wall here or there in order to kind of reset yourself in order to continue onwards. Slowing up and speeding up at the right moments in order to gather the pages takes a lot of practice. I honestly was shocked at how many tries it took me to get good enough at level number 3 to be able to complete it regularly without either losing a page or without pretty much pulling my hair out from trying to gather some of them. My strategy for the level is to go all the way right at first, picking up every page that I possibly can. If one is a little bit out of the way, I may just keep going, and then when I double back, grab the ones I wasn't able to get my first time through. Once you gather them all, though, you'll move on to the 4th and final level, which is easily the worst level.
Rescue time!
Level number 4 has us trying to make it through this weird abandoned warehouse to save CJ from Ice Pick. This is one of the most annoying, longest drawn out levels in any NES game ever. Your goal is to work through this to find a permit first, then you can head to the rooftop in order to battle the boss. To do this, you must travel through many different rooms, trying to avoid as many enemies as you can and taking lots and lots of elevators. There are 4 floors that you'll be traveling through constantly before we're finally able to make it to the 5th and final floor, the roof. Thankfully, they do color code the rooms though, as each floor has a different color scheme, with white being the bottom, then green, blue, and finally red. There is a total of 38 elevators that we will be taking up and all the way back down, then all the way back up, and all the way back down. There's unfortunately not a whole ton to talk about because most of the rooms are pretty simple, containing 1 to 3 of the other random enemies that will be bouncing around, sometimes firing their paintball guns at you while you're trying to maneuver and get through. The paths are always the same, they're always set the same, so you can draw yourself a large-scale map if you want to really map out this place, or of course, use a video or a guide to help you get through this area a little bit less of a headache. I really wish there was a little bit more variety to this final stage overall. Heck, Before I even found the permit the first time, I was already growing quite tired and quite bored. As long as you get on like the first couple elevators correctly and work your way towards the permit, your goal will pretty much be find the next elevator, and as long as you're going in the correct direction, you're good. Located up here is the permit that we need, and thankfully the permit actually grants you full health. So if you've taken a beating before you got to here, you'll get full health. Now also, thankfully, before the final boss battle, there is a room that contains another health item if you do need it. Once you've made it to the permit floor, you're now going to backtrack the exact same 10 elevators that we took to get to the permit. You're going to go back through them. I know, absolutely thrilling, but you take the exact same path, there's no variation, it's the same room, same enemies. I did try to explore a little bit, see if there was any kind of shortcuts or anything else to really find throughout the levels, and honestly, other than a few dead ends, I really wasn't running into too much. Mainly the permit that you need to get, and then an occasional health item. Mainly, I think just one extra health item that's right near the final elevator we'll be taking in order to get to the rooftop. I think having the faster skateboards will help you a little bit, just of getting through the rooms quicker, but most of the usefulness of the skateboards is having at least the level 2 one to help you with level 3 overall. Other than that, it's probably best to just avoid most of the conflicts in the game, that way you have plenty of ammo in order to deal with the actual 2 bosses of the game. Now, like I mentioned, there are a few different items and weapons that you can pick up throughout the game, including M80s and eggs that you can actually use to also defeat enemies other than the paintball gun. However, the paintball gun is the easiest really to use. It hits enemies just as hard as anything else, and it only will take about 14 or so shots in order to defeat the final boss, and you'll have a couple of clips to deal with when you first start up. So if you really only mess with the paintball gun for the 2 bosses, you'll have more than enough ammo without really having to pick up anything else or worry about having enough ammo when you do make it to that final boss. You can also damage enemies and all with some of the other cool moves, like the 180 or the 720 even. However, using these moves usually ends up resulting in you getting hit as well, so they're really not even that efficient. And while having those trick type moves is really cool, of course, being a skateboard game, honestly the trick part of the game is more reserved for the actual half-pipe mode, and like I said, I'll be showing that after we get through the main game. Finally, we are on the final floor here, and the final floor is a pretty lengthy one. The enemies are moving really quickly. There's usually 3 in every room that we're going to be exploring, so try to keep your health up a little bit. Doing some quick turns is really hard to do when trying to go back and forth. Eventually, though, we will come to the elevator and it's time for the final boss fight of the game. He'll immediately charge you. Just stand still, then get out the paintball gun and fire a few shots when he's aimed right at you. Every time he runs towards you, jump up in the air. You'll avoid taking any damage. Then just keep lining up the paintball shots and hitting them, and when you deliver about 14 or so, you can sit back and enjoy the ending. The skater died too.
Let's party!
So there you guys have it. Skater died too for the NES. You're given a pretty cool ending and then a nice little credit sequence seeing your main cast members standing around as fireworks go off near the newly built Double Trouble half pipe. Skater Die 2, while a really cool concept, I just feel they could have done a little bit more design and a little bit less tedium when it comes to some of the level design. Had they just improved it a little bit, maybe added a few more goals, or maybe not as lengthy amount of elevators and rooms in the final level, Skater Die 2 would definitely be a really cool hidden gem on the NES. However, as it stands, it's still a fun game. You gotta get used to it. It takes a lot to get used to controlling the skateboard, but with its cool concept, it's definitely worth checking out. The credits aren't too long and they will repeat a few times if you let them. Eventually though, after repeating a bunch, you will be able to get back to the menu, but you can skip them at any time as well. After pressing start during the credit sequence at any time or waiting until it plays out, you'll then be at the half-pipe mode itself. In the half-pipe mode, your goal is to build up speed and then do as many tricks as possible within the 3-minute time limit in order to get a high score. There's some really cool animations and tricks that you'll be able to pull off throughout this. Takes a bit of practice. You'll hold down the speed button when you make it near areas in order to do certain tricks, and then you'll have to make sure you press the other button in order to get out of the trick at the right moment in order to safely land. This definitely takes some getting used to. One of my favorite things is the animations. Every time you crash, you'll end up exploding depending upon where you land. Sometimes you'll just wipe out and skid, but most of the time you'll explode into different pieces all over the place. You only get 3 lives or 3 tries while doing this, so you'll have to either wait till your time runs out or you run out of these in order to complete the mode. I think you get bonus points every time CJ is hanging out of the window blowing kisses your way as you're doing the different various tricks. For the tricks, like I said, the speed you're going determines what tricks you can currently pull off. You just have to make sure of the right timing in order to land them. Now I'm going to continue going through this for the next few minutes and I'll be back to wrap up the vid. I think a nice great explosion is a good way to finish up my time. And you can see my score. You'll also get some bonus points for the board you're currently using, as well as the amount of tricks you totally pull off. So you can see overall, I end up with the top score on the leaderboards. You can then continue doing the half pipe, or you can reset the game and start it all over again. But that's going to wrap up this edition of Play It Through. I'd like to thank you for watching, and of course, I hope you enjoy.